What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of Natural Hair and True Crime. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jataia, and here on my channel I do natural hair content, I do wig reviews, and I also discuss true crime cases while doing my natural hair. So if you're interested in any of those that I just listed, then I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll always be updated when I post a new video. Now, before I get right into the case, I just wanted to let y'all know what I will be doing to my hair today. As y'all can see right now, I am rocking my braids. I have been wearing a wig for the past couple weeks, so these are what I have been rocking under them. And so yeah, basically what I'm gonna be doing today is just oiling my scalp and giving my hair a scalp massage. So the oil that I'm actually using is just some DIY oil that I put together. It's just a bunch of different oils in just this little applicator bottle. If you are interested in the oils that I use, I will make sure to list them down in the description box. And I am also going to be using this scalp massager to be, do my little thing on my head. Y'all, I don't remember where I got this from, but I mean, if you are interested in purchasing one, I'll make sure to link one maybe from Amazon below. But yeah, so without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this case. So today's true crime case takes place in the location of Manteca, California in 2011. And this is Dawson Andrew McGehee. McGehee was the youngest son of Tom and Kathleen McGehee. And from what I read, it said that Dawson had, I believe 2 older brothers and a sister that I know of. And I don't know if there's more, but that's what they were kind of stating from what I read. Now, a little bit later on in his life, of what I read, it said that Dawson had graduated from the University of Pacific, which I believe is located in California. He also was a music instructor and also worked at his local restaurant. Now, it doesn't say how long he worked as a music instructor and at the restaurant. Now, in 2011, Dawson was 26 years old, and at this time, he was still living at home with his parents. And I believe he was the only child of Tom and Kathleen, who was still staying at home. About 2 years before the murder, Caitlin, which is his sister, and I don't know if this is his younger sister or oldest, I think she's the youngest, but she ended up moving back home from college. Now, while she was back at home, she began to notice different things that Dawson would do. For one, he would be very disrespectful to Kathleen, which is the mom. Now, Dawson would kind of talk down on Kathleen, and Kathleen really wasn't the type to kind of like at least like argue back and try to start altercations. I'm sorry, y'all. Now if y'all see me like not looking at the camera and looking down, I'm actually looking in the mirror just to make sure that I'm like oiling my parts. But yeah, now it was said that Kathleen would be very protective of Dawson, and actually she made sure to give Dawson a lot more attention than her other children. Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how much attention a 26-year-old man would need, but yeah, it was said that she would basically, I don't want to say spoil, but definitely she would pay more attention to Dawson and basically like cater to him more than her other children. Now, a little bit before the murder, I want to say a few months before actually, police ended up having to come to the McGehee's house due to an altercation that broke out between Dawson and Tom. Now, it was said that Tom was about to kick Dawson out and basically tell him he needs to leave, and a fight broke out. Now, somehow Dawson believed that his parents weren't able to kick him out on the grounds that they didn't give him any eviction proceedings. Which honestly, I don't know. I don't know how that goes. I feel like, he was their son and he was just staying with them. So why would they need an eviction proceeding to kick you out? But I don't know. Anyway, so the police ended up telling Dawson that, they don't need a eviction proceeding to kick you out. It's their house. And somehow, I don't know if it after that, he kind of just calmed down or eventually, but he still had to get out. Now, right after this altercation, it was said that Dawson began to immediately act strange or act differently. According to one of his brothers, Justin, following right after this altercation, he noticed that Dawson's physical movements began to change. And it was said that his movements didn't drastically change. It actually kind of happened all of a sudden. One day he just woke up and he began to have these different physical mannerisms. It was said that he began to like start to shake more and stutter a lot and look off to the side in different directions. Now, when I was reading this part from jump, it kind of sounded like he was faking it. Like, I didn't want to sound like mean or anything, but I mean, it sounded like he was faking it. And then it kind of just confirmed as I continued reading. His brother Justin actually explained an incident where Dawson was reading to Justin's children. And as he was reading, the sudden physical movements that he began to have, such as the shaking and stuttering, just all of a sudden stopped. So he was reading to the kids and he wasn't doing any of these physical mannerisms that he was doing before. And then once he stopped reading to the children, then it all of a sudden began to come back. So when I read that part, I was like, yeah, it definitely sounds like somebody's faking it. Now, at the time, I was thinking, why do this? Why is he faking this? Because now this was before the murder. So yeah, I was like, okay, why is he faking this? Like, what's the point of this? Okay, y'all, just wanted to let y'all know real quick, I'm finna to turn this massager on to start massaging my head. So if you hear a little vibration, of course it's this. Hopefully it's not too loud. It doesn't take away from me talking. But yeah, so going right into the events leading up to the murder, on October 28th of 2011, Caitlin, which is the sister, ended up going on a church retreat over the weekend with one of her friends. So Caitlin ended up asking her mom if she was able to pick her up that following Sunday. So the plan was for Caitlin to call Kathleen when she was about an hour out from the university. Now, during the same weekend, Tom was actually, I believe, out of the country on, I don't know if it was like a business trip or he was gone. I think it was definitely for work. And I think it said he was actually gone to China. So nobody was at the McGehee house except for Kathleen and Dawson. Now, on October 30th, Kathleen ended up going to church with Justin and his family. And then a little bit later that day, after she got back, she ended up talking to another one of her oldest sons, whose name was Colin. So she ended up calling Colin to basically ask how to prepare a specific dish in a rice cooker. Now, this rice cooker ended up belonging to Colin, and he kind of just left it there after he moved out. But yeah, so Kathleen called him. She wasn't able to get a hold of him, so she ended up leaving a voicemail. Now, around 4 p.m., Colin ended up calling Kathleen back and basically explaining, you know, how to do it in the rice cooker, etc. Now, during this conversation with Colin, Kathleen actually mentioned how she was supposed to be picking up Caitlin from the University of Pacific a little bit later on that day. And unfortunately, that would be the last time anybody would have a conversation with Kathleen. Now, around 5 p.m., Caitlin ends up calling the house phone and nobody was answering. So Caitlin was about an hour out from the university, and that's why she was calling her mom. So she wasn't able to get a hold of it, so she left a voicemail. After she left the voicemail, she ended up calling Kathleen's cell phone, but she still was unable to get a hold of her. So she left a voicemail on her cell phone. So a few minutes after her trying to attempt to call her mom, she ends up getting an incoming call from Dawson. And this is very odd because Dawson rarely calls her. Now, as soon as he called her, the call immediately dropped. So Caitlin assumed that Dawson just called her on accident. So after this, Caitlin ended up calling Kathleen's cell phone again and leaving another message. Now, after this message, literally a minute after she called, Dawson ended up calling her again. So once she picked up, Dawson basically didn't want anything, but he was just calling to say that he was just checking up on her. Which, once again, this is something he never does. From my understanding, they barely talk, and she, like I said, he never calls her. So red flag number 1. So Caitlin ends up telling Dawson that she's been trying to get up a hold of Kathleen and that she's not answering the phone because she's supposed to get ready and pick her up. So Dawson ends up replying that he thinks the house phone and Kathleen's cell phone are both not working. Red flag number 2. But yeah, so he says he thinks that both are not working, and that's why she hasn't been able to get a hold of him. Caitlin then asks, well, was he at home? And if so, if he could ask Kathleen, did she still plan on picking her up? Dawson says that he wasn't at home. So Caitlin then asks, did Kathleen mention anything about Dawson actually picking her up? and he says that no, she didn't, and then the conversation ended. So after getting off the phone with Dawson, she tried to call Kathleen one more time and leave a voicemail, but of course she still wasn't able to get in touch with her. So as 6 was approaching, it was getting more closer for her to arrive at the university. She ended up calling the house phone and Kathleen's cell phone a few more times and leaving some more voicemails. So about 2 minutes after the final voicemail that she left, Dawson ends up calling Caitlin again. And when Caitlin answered, Dawson told her that, oh yeah, actually I think me and mom did have a conversation that I was supposed to be picking you up. I can come get you. I would say that's another red flag, but yeah, I'm like, you literally just said that she didn't say you were supposed to pick me up, and now she just said it. Okay, but anyway, so he ended up saying that he also mentioned that Kathleen had been saying that she was really tired, and that was the reason why she wasn't coming to get Caitlin. So yeah. Caitlin ended up just saying okay and agreeing and ended up hanging up the phone. So Dawson ends up arriving to the university around 6:30 p.m. So he picks up Caitlin, and once Caitlin gets into the car, he tells her that he has to run a few errands before they go back home. So Caitlin agreed and was saying that was fine, but she thought when he was saying errands that it meant something like around town, kind of close to where they live, but actually Dawson ended up hopping on the freeway and they ended up going north of Sacramento. Now, while in the car with Dawson, Caitlin explained how the encounter with him was kind of off. She explained how he was a lot more social than he's ever been. She said that he was a lot more talkative, a lot more chatty, and he definitely was not like this, at least since she had moved back 2 months prior to the murder. So yeah, he was basically just, in a sense, just acting weird, acting not normal. Also, while in the car, Dawson actually ended up mentioning Kathleen and kind of like talking in a positive way about her, explaining how she had been on a new diet and how it was also causing her to be more tired because she wasn't eating more anymore. I don't know if that was his little way of, kind of like, mentioning that, she didn't need to be bothered or what, but yeah. So before going home, Dawson ended up taking Caitlin to a Walgreens to pick up some Blistex. Now, while they were at Walgreens, once Caitlin purchased the Blistex, she actually ended up going to the bathroom and then walking back out to the car. Now, once she got back to the car, she noticed that Dawson wasn't in it, so she ended up going back inside to look for him. And once she went back into Walgreens, she noticed Dawson pacing back and forth through the aisles. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is just like a whole bunch of red flags, but yeah, she ended up finding him pacing like back and forth in the aisles, and eventually like they both went back to the car. After they came from Walgreens, they ended up grabbing something to eat, and then they went back to the house. So they ended up arriving a little bit before 11, and Caitlin began to start unpacking all of her stuff from the trip and kind of like just winding down. Now, while she was finna go to the bathroom, Dawson ended up stopping her in the hallway, and he ends up saying to Caitlin, "Mom's asleep." Like, and said it in like a urgent and forceful way, and just like out of nowhere. So this kind of like made Caitlin, which I probably would have been the same way too, but it made Caitlin like, what the fuck? But yeah, I mean, she wasn't planning on disturbing her anyway because she knew it was already late. But yeah, it just threw her off. But anyway, so she just kind of like ignored it, said okay, and went back to bed. All right now, goddamn neighbors. But yeah, so as she was going to bed, she ended up getting up a few more times during the night. And each time that she would leave, she would see Dawson pacing the hallways. Can I say another red flag? But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm sorry. If I was Caitlin, I'd be like, dude, what is up with you? Like, you pacing back and forth. What you got going on? Okay, you making me nervous. All this pacing, like, what you doing? But anyway, so the next morning, Caitlin ended up leaving her room, and of course, guess who's there as soon as she opens the door? Dawson. Now, Dawson asked if Caitlin had gotten his text message. Dad said that Caitlin's phone died, so she wasn't able to get the message. So he ends up telling her that Kathleen was still tired and wasn't feeling well, that she didn't get a good night's rest. So she was just going to stay in bed all day and she did not need to be bothered. So Caitlin ended up just saying, okay, fine. Dawson actually ends up going outside. Now, while he's outside, Caitlin goes to knock on Kathleen's door. And basically when she knocks on the door and she kind of calls out, she gets no response. So she knocks a little louder and calls her mom's name a little louder, and she still didn't get a response. So by this time, Caitlin's kind of getting like a little bit nervous and, you know, like, okay, what's going on? She ends up trying to open the door and notice that it's locked and she can't get in. So she ends up going outside to look to see if she was able to see through her mom's window, I guess through the blinds. I'm assuming, I guess they have their blinds open. She noticed that the shutters to her mom's bedrooms are closed as well, so she can't see anything. So she don't know what's going on, why her mom's not answering her or anything. But unfortunately, Caitlin, she thinks that, you know, she's just kind of being a little bit paranoid and she should just leave her mom alone and let her get some rest. So she ends up just going back to her room and just kind of like chilling out. So later on, Dawson ends up telling Caitlin that Kathleen wanted Dawson to take Caitlin. She wanted him to take her to the bank. So anyway, so they ended up, Dawson ends up taking Caitlin to the bank and stuff. Basically, like, we all know now that this was an attempt just to kind of like get her away from the house and like checking up on Kathleen. Now while they were in the car together, Caitlin noticed that Dawson's demeanor was the same as last night and how he was acting. He was acting cheerful, more social, like just more talkative, and like he cared. And like, once again, like this is something that, I mean, was just very unlikely with Dawson. And Caitlin just found this to just be odd because, I mean, this wasn't Dawson. He wasn't this talkative person. He wasn't this person who cared, and he wasn't just this social. But anyway, so after they ended up coming from the bank, Caitlin ended up needing to go to the AT&T store because she needed a new charger for her phone. So Dawson ends up taking her to the farthest AT&T store from their house. Yeah, I just, it just seemed just like, okay. But yeah, so finally they end up coming back. Now, once they ended up coming back to the house, Caitlin actually ends up going out to lunch with her friends. Now, when she comes back from lunch, she noticed that Dawson is not there. He's left and went somewhere. And she ended up actually trying to check up on Kathleen again. So she goes to the door and she noticed it's still locked. She began to knock continuously on the door, but of course there was still no response, no sign from her mother. So Caitlin eventually ended up calling her brother Justin and explaining the situation, how the door was locked and how she was not able to get a hold of her mother. So Justin ends up telling Caitlin to go ahead and call the police so they can go over there. So Caitlin ends up calling the police, and when the police get there, they end up having to basically break the door down. And once they break the door down, unfortunately, they find 55-year-old Kathleen laying in the doorway of her bedroom with multiple stab wounds along her neck, chest, and abdomen, and still had her car keys in her hand. And yeah, I just want to say this murder didn't happen on a Halloween specifically. It actually happened the day before, but I believe he was actually arrested on Halloween, and he was arrested around 1:25 in the morning. And they actually found a Dawson with DNA stains matching the blood of his mother on his leather jacket when they found him. So immediately they basically knew kind of that they had a suspect. And also, like, as they were investigating, they noticed that there was not a break-in in the house. It was said that he stabbed Kathleen with a kitchen knife, and I'm assuming it was probably still found at the scene. Okay, y'all, I'm pretty much done with massaging my head, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into probably the most interesting and craziest part of this story to me. So once they finally apprehended him, they ended up interrogating him. And y'all, I just, when I watched the interrogation, I was just like, you cannot be freaking serious. Like, you've got to be joking me, y'all. This man was faking it. Like, I'm gonna make sure to link the video to the interrogation down below. But y'all, when you watch the interrogation, make sure to pay attention to when the interrogator is in the room and his physical movements when the interrogator has left the room. Y'all, it's very crazy, but I'm gonna kind of explain. So they go into basically trying to ask him, but y'all, by the way, this is just for like example purposes. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody who's mentally challenged, but y'all, in the video, he's like using this hand mannerism to kind of like, I guess, make the interrogator believe that he's mentally challenged or has some type of problem. Now, what is actually crazy about this is the interrogator's trying to, you know, get questions and like get answers out of him. He then begins to say, well, aren't I supposed to have an attorney present? Now, y'all, like I just said, usually a person who's, you know, mentally, you know, challenged or, you know, has usually mental issues like the one that he's trying to portray, they're not going to ask for an attorney. I mean, they're not going to know to do that. So, I mean, well, I'm not going to say they're not going to do that, but it's just, it's weird that you're making it seem like you don't know what happened to your mom. You don't know what's going on, but you know enough to know to ask for an attorney. Like, really? Interrogator, he agrees that, yeah, okay, I'll get you an attorney. All right, you won't be able to say anything else, but if you do change your mind, let me know. So once he exits the room, yeah, he literally goes from acting like, you know, he has some type of mental issue or, you know, like something physically going on to literally like just a regular person. He sits there. Yeah, I kid you not. I'm actually going to insert, I'm not going to insert the video. Like I say, I'm going to link it down below and you can go watch it for yourself. But I am going to insert some pictures of how he was when the interrogator was in the room versus how he was when he was not. And you can kind of see. But like I say, I really want y'all to make sure to watch the video because, I mean, it just tells it all. But yes, once the interrogator comes back into the room, he's literally... And I'm trying not to, like, I'm just trying to give you an example. I'm not trying to be like, but I'm just like, really? And I saw that part. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, really? You that low down? So unfortunately, it was like a moment where I think the court had to see if he was like actually mentally stable or sane to be able to stand trial. But of course, after seeing that video, I mean, it was a freaking no-brainer that, yeah, he's sane. I actually ended up finding an article where it shows that he was faking it. And I'll make sure to link that article down below. But yeah, y'all, it's just like the whole thing is very insane. Now, I'm gonna go into a little bit of the mom's background. So before the murder, it was said that the mom used to take care of her brother who had Parkinson's disease and her sister who had a brain tumor. Unfortunately, both the brother and the sister did pass away. So after that, it said that she kind of like gravitated more to taking care of Dawson. I guess, I don't know if that was kind of like not to make up for like the passing, but I can understand, you know, after you've taken care of both your brother and your sister and they passed away, it's like you're kind of like I don't know what I'm trying to say, like used to like taking care of someone more, and it just made her like focus on the child that needed the most attention, and it just happened to be Dawson. I mean, he was 26 years old. I didn't read much on like his mental state and possibly why she had to make it seem like she needed to take care and put all of her attention towards Dawson. But definitely, I know he had some type of mental issue, and it actually states when I was reading, it was saying how his friends had different instances where he was just being like something was wrong with it. It just made it seem like something was wrong with him. I'm sorry, yeah, but yeah, going back to the mom. So she ended up actually beginning to train to be a victim's advocate and kind of like helping out with different things within her church community. And somewhere between that time, she ended up, I want to say, like gaining a bit more backbone for standing up against Dawson. Because like I said before, he would be kind of very disrespectful to her and kind of like just talk down upon her. And, you know, Kathleen wasn't the type to like feed into that she was kind of more just like, you know, trying to be there for her son, trying to be as positive as she could be. But yeah, so while she was doing this and doing this training and getting more involved with these different things in her church community, like I said, she began to be more stern and put her foot down more, like I want to say. Kind of sounds familiar, right, with another case I just did. But yeah, so, and honestly, I think it was more of like she was actually kind of putting her foot down to like tell Dawson that he needed to basically like get out. He's 26 years old. I feel like he was just trying to put her foot down and let him know that he needs to get out. He needs to get a job and be on his own and be a grown man. And unfortunately, Dawson believed that he was, I don't know, he just was entitled and felt like he shouldn't have had to move out and he didn't need to move out. And he just did this. I don't know. I feel like I still honestly believe it was a little bit of mental issues there that caused him to go to this extreme to think that he had to kill his mother because of this. But yeah, I do want to also say that, you know, sometimes babying your kids or like not like handicapping them, maybe like making them more dependent on you can sometimes honestly end up biting you in the tail and coming back to bite you. And unfortunately, this was in the most extreme way. I feel like it is really sad and really selfish at the same time. Like, it's very shocking that a person can be, you're so entitled that you kill your mother because of this. Like, I feel like it has to be some type of mental illness that just took it there to make it that extreme. Now, I'm gonna be honest, and a lot of people might not agree with me on this, but I feel like some of it was her fault. Not saying like the killing, because I mean, she should not have, that was just too much. But I feel like as far as allowing him to do this as long as he did and babying him and giving him all this attention like she was for this long, because he was 26 and still living at home. Like, she was like, what, doing this all his life? And I'm sorry, and even like going back to the time where he had this altercation with his father, Tom, how he thought was fighting with him because they were trying to kick him out, and he basically expecting or like assuming that they couldn't kick him out. I don't, like, it's crazy to me. Like, I can understand, you know, when you think your child is mentally, you know, not mentally challenged, but like they need help mentally. I feel like it's just different ways that you need to go about it. You don't need to go about it the way that you're like babying them and like not correcting them when they're wrong or letting them know like this is not okay. In that sense, I feel like it's just different ways that you can go about it, but definitely not making them dependent or making them just seem like that they are entitled or supposed to be this way. It was said that, Kathleen, like, she was a great mom, just down to earth. She just wanted to give back to the community, and it's just, he was just so selfish and so entitled that he didn't care. Now, there was a statement by Tom about his wife, Kathleen. He was saying how Kathleen, all she ever did was basically give her all. And unfortunately, all Dawson did was ever take. And he would say how he would take and manipulate, take and deceive, take and lie, and just etc. and just kept going on. So like, from reading that statement, it kind of just made me explain and made sense of, you know, how everything went down. He just thought he was supposed to get everything. Like, I mean, I don't want to say he was spoiled, but I mean, it just seems like that was the case. I mean, he was a spoiled kid whose mother basically, I mean, she did everything that she could for him. And the one time that she said no, or actually put her foot down and stood her ground, ended her life over it. And I don't know, I just feel like this is like so extreme, like these cases, and how people just be, oh no, y'all. I mean, I feel like it takes a certain type of sick to kill your own parents. Like, I feel like this just crazy. Anyway, so the jury did find Dawson to be guilty. And actually on January 28th of 2013, he was sentenced to 16 years to life in prison. And yeah, that was pretty much what went down. And actually, I feel like, y'all know me, like, I be saying giving them life without parole, honey. I mean, but you killed your mom. Like, there shouldn't be like no possibility of parole, but he is actually eligible for parole actually in 2024. I just wanted to take the time for me and for y'all to make sure that we just send prayers and positive energy towards the McGehee family. Can not imagine to lose a parent like this into somebody that you're related to. I mean, it just makes it even more crazy. So please make sure that you send your prayers and lights and love towards them. I'm sorry, y'all. I actually want to backtrack for a minute, going back into the case. And I think like during the trial, it said that Justin, which is one of the older brothers to Dawson, he ended up making 3 songs about his brother. And he was basically explaining how, I mean, he was hurt, but at the same time, he would refuse to allow his brother to cause him to have hate in his heart. And he said that he forgave his brother. And I feel like, I mean, probably more because he probably known that's what his mother wanted him to do. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention earlier that the McGehee family was a very, very religious family, and they went to church faithfully. So I feel like I just want to commend Justin for that, and just having the strong will and heart to forgive. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm actually thinking about like now how they found her body. Remember how I said how they found her with her keys clutched in her hand? Now I'm thinking like, did she have her keys because she was like trying to run away and was about to like run out the house and drive off? Or was she actually clutching her keys because she was actually about to get ready and go to pick up Caitlin? Because it was said how she died somewhere between her call with calling about cooking the dish with the rice cooker, and that was around 4-ish, and she was supposed to basically leave to pick up Caitlin around 5-ish, and it did say somewhere in between there, that's when she was murdered. So I don't know, like I feel like that's really crazy. I feel like in my altercation actually went down. Possibly, maybe it was an altercation that went down between her and Dawson just lost it and just began stabbing her. That might have been a possibility, but yeah, like I say, they found her with her car keys still in her hand. So yeah, that's pretty much intense. Now, if you guys want to, there is a little documentary on this case that's actually on Snapped, and also I'll link the video to the interrogation below so you'll be able to see it for yourself. It's like a little, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know if it's like 3 or 4 minutes. It's a very short video. It's not that long. But yeah, if you, like I say, if you wanted to read up more on this case, I definitely make sure to leave the link of the different articles down below. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all for this episode. Definitely make sure to leave your thoughts down below, because I do want to hear your guys' thoughts and your opinions and what you think may have caused him to do this. Do you think it was just him being kind of like an entitled brat, or you feel like it was definitely some mental issues there that caused him to take it this far? And yeah, but yeah, that is definitely all for this video. Please make sure that you guys like this video and leave a comment, because that helps the YouTube algorithm a lot for me. And yeah, I love you guys, and I definitely will see you in my next episode.